This is KLEAN Radio, and it starts right now.
And by that we mean right now. Hi, folks. I'm Pat O'Brien. I'm your host tonight and every Sunday night. The hottest show on Sundays anyway. Andrew Spanswick, right?
Yeah.
At least we think so, right?
Yeah, I hope we think so.
We talk about recovery. Tonight we're going to talk about rock and roll. One of my favorite people is here, too, Lou Gossett Jr. And we'll get to him in a minute. Lou and I, we go back a long way. Tried to get him to say mayonnaise, maybe. But there's lots to talk to Lou about. Andrew, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, busy but good.
Hey,
yeah.
Busy. You're moving? I always love to check in with your life every week.
Yeah, right. It's like therapy. I get to maybe I should lie down and you could ask me questions.
Well, let's not get bold about it just yet.
Okay, all right. We won't get too bold.
Anyway, Andrew Spanswick is our CEO of KLEAN, our KLEAN centers. I was out to one this week and did a small group out there and had a good time with the clients, and it's beautiful out there. And
I appreciate you giving back like that.
These people are lucky they're in rehab in California, not in the East Coast right now. Another reason to come to L.A.
I'm dreading having to go to New York. Like, there's a possibility I might have to go next week. I'm like, oh.
It's like hell there. Hell is frozen over in New York City. This is KLEAN Radio. We're on 790 KBC here all up and down the coast. We're going on to New York pretty soon, Miami, Chicago, all over the country. Our our call number is like calling a New York taxi.
We got to drop that line.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we've been using it like every show, and it just doesn't work anymore.
Well, we're going to use it again.
Okay, we'll finish it off this one time, but this is the last time. So go ahead.
All right, take two.
Okay, go ahead. Take two.
It's like calling an 800 number.
Which no, oh well. So you caught me. I can't believe it. Brain games with Pat O'Brien.
800-222-5222. 800-222-5222. KLEANradio.com. Facebook.com/KLEAN Radio. On Twitter, we're at KLEAN Radio. Andrew's at KLEAN CEO, and I'm at POB Pat O'Brien. And we're everywhere. And by the way, we have a 24/7 hotline for those of you who have questions about anything, really. And that's 888-601-6040. When they call there, Andrew?
Yeah, there's qualified treatment professionals ready to listen and deal with any problems you might have. And, of course, you can also call the show and talk to us personally. Okay,
and the phones are starting to light up already. Kate Pierson, maybe one of the greatest female voices on earth, is going to join us from B-52's. A couple of headlines, though. We do a new thing now on the web on KLEANradio.com. Is it on KLEANradio.com or KLEANradio.com? We do headlines, and we missed this one because it just happened. Josh Hamilton, a friend and once the greatest baseball player in America, now with the Angels, has had a troubled past with alcohol and drugs, has a relapse this week. He came forward. He wasn't tested or anything. Probably be suspended about 25 games. However, that's not the story. The poor guy just can't seem to get it. And what would I was the same way, and he's doing it in a public forum, and it's difficult.
Well, I think it's important to realize that relapse is part of the illness of alcoholism and drug addiction, and other problems like gambling and stuff like that. And unfortunately, our view in America is that if somebody relapses, automatically it means that their whole problem is returned as if somehow it went away. And I think a part of this is we shouldn't be punishing him. If he came forward and admitted he had a problem, that's part of the illness. If he had diabetes and his blood sugar got out of control, they wouldn't suspend him for 26 games, right? They'd just be like,
exactly.
Yeah, so, there should be...
Or cancer.
If he's coming forward and he can get sober again quickly and he can minimize the effect of the relapse and, there's no damage from it, I don't see why we should be criminalizing or penalizing him for his actions.
Right, and the sports talk radio people make fun of him and, all that, and that's what they do. But
I can't imagine that helping anybody.
No, it doesn't help, and
right?
It doesn't help to be in public. But our prayers go out to Josh, and hopefully he'll conquer it again. He's had a rough time with it. We had a death, not we, but Hollywood had a death over the past few days. Harris Whittles, the executive producer, brilliant kid, 30 years old, Andrew, and suspicion is that he died of heroin overdose, and that raised your eyebrows that it's only a suspicion at this point. It probably is. Right. Because he's a well-known user, but the stigma...
Well, I just don't like this general rush to judgment within the media. People that it's not really their relative and it's not really their business, and then they make all these judgments and calls for headlines to talk about in media when they don't really know the circumstances, or even if that was happened. He might have just had a heart attack. I mean, there's plenty of 30-year-olds that have heart attacks related to other things. So, I don't know.
And it's known that he's used drugs, so his body might have just said that's enough.
That's the other thing. People don't realize that you do drugs for a long time. It does have an effect on your body, and it can catch up with you even after you get sober. So. But my thing is just out of respect for him and for the family and his legacy, people shouldn't just be speculating as to what happened.
But they do, and he was loved by all. And by the way, if you use drugs, it takes more than your body. It takes your family, your money, your house, your car.
It can take everything.
It can take everything. Yeah. There is. It's been a while since we've seen an outbreak of the HIV virus. As part of our headlines here out in Indiana, apparently. Opioid addicts are sharing needles, and there's been quite an outbreak of the HIV virus.
Yeah, this is interesting because for a while,
heard that for a while.
Yeah, well, people had stopped sharing needles for a long time because of bloodborne illnesses like HIV and hepatitis C and various other diseases. One thing that's happened is that a lot of people don't think HIV is as serious as it used to be because there's medications. But the medications for HIV are actually very, very damaging to the body in the long term. So we're still seeing people die young with organ failure and stuff like that. They don't have
the cocktail down now?
It's obviously life-saving but it's not curing anybody. So, it's one of these things where, time goes by, people get lazy, the message starts to get fuzzy. And then people that were smoking heroin and doing oxycodone and taking pills are all of a sudden back to communal sharing of needles because it's a heroin community again. It's not a self-centered sort of pill-taking, isolative type of addiction. So we're starting to see bloodborne illnesses pick up in the drug-using community again, and it's really horrible to see that. And it's interesting, though, that the CDC is so on top of it. They're really tracking HIV outbreaks in the IV community, which we haven't seen for a long time. So,
you're listening to Clean Radio. I'm Pat O'Brien. He's Andrew Spanswick. Kate Pierson will be up in a couple of minutes. And Lou Gossett Jr. is here as well. He'll join us in a few minutes as well. One quick thing here on our headlines, Vivitrol, which is a shot, which I've done. It's to prevent, originally they thought it prevented...
how we go straight from HIV and needles
to using needle, yeah. This one hurt. This one freaking hurts.
Yeah,
I tried it for alcohol and it doesn't work. But now they're saying that it's $1,500 a shot. But now they're saying it does help some heroin. I know it's almost 100% for meth and cocaine. I know it's pretty brilliant on that. But now they're saying, Andrew, that heroin users are getting some relief.
I mean, this is one of these classic problems.
It's a brain blocker, right?
We've had anabuse for, probably over 50 years for alcohol, and you drink alcohol, make you throw up, and, it was like aversion therapy. These drugs are more like blockers. They try to stop the effects of the drugs really being pleasurable to your dopamine system, which is your reward system. I think most people know that by now. But the problem is that addiction doesn't just go for necessarily one thing. It doesn't go for cocaine. It doesn't go for heroin. It doesn't just go. You could have a drug of choice. Your drug of choice might be meth and coke, and Vivitrol might be good for that, or an opiate. But the reality is, at the end of the day, if you don't deal with whatever is making you feel lonely, miserable, isolated, like an addict, you're going to end up doing something else, be it drinking, which Vivitrol won't do anything for. So. It's a good step in maybe preventing some relapse when people are first getting sober, but it's long-term, people are going to gravitate towards getting their pleasure systems filled some way or another. So either it's going to be through recovery or finding another option.
You go to our website, KLEANradio.com, and we do the Clean Radio headlines, and those are them. Them are those. Those are them this week. Kate Pierson was the lead singer and founder of the greatest party band in the history of the world. The B-52's. How did we get Kate up on here? It says line 9, but I don't see a line 9 anywhere. Can we throw her up?
There she is.
Kate, how are you? Kate, it's Pat. It's Pat. How are you?
I'm here on line 9.
Yeah, there you are. Okay, Kate, it's Pat, and that's Andrew. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good. By the way, I have to tell you, Kate Pierson has a new album out. We'll get to it, Guitars and Microphones. And she and I have a couple things in common. One is that I actually own a Farfisa plastic pig organ.
All right.
Right? I actually own one of those. And they call them plastic pigs because outside of B-52's and who was it? Question mark in the...
Mysterian.
They used it on 96 Tears. And I used it in my band, which, by the way, Don was his 10th favorite band in the world.
Oh, my God.
But I actually still have a Farfisa organ. They call them the plastic pig because they are plastic and... They were worth nothing, but
Right. We can do all that on Pro Tools now, unfortunately.
Yeah. But we
I
don't.
remember when we first started the band, the B-52's, we were searching for a Farfisa deliberately, and we went to all these stores in Atlanta, and they like, we got B-50, we have B3s, and, we don't have any, Farfisas. But we did find one, and I still have it.
That's cool.
Is that on Rock Lobster, right? Is that the song was on?
Yeah, it's on Planet Claire, on Rock Lobster.
Yeah.
I played all the keyboard and bass parts on that Farfisa because it had a split keyboard. I don't know if yours has like a bass, it has a split keyboard, so it has a bass and regular keyboard on that one.
I have the singular keyboard, and it just has a unique sound. Enough about that. Let's talk about you.
We'll just have a whole.
By the way, throw Down the Roses, which is on her new album, Guitars and Microphones. And I don't lie. Do I lie, Andrew?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Well, you're a liar.
Everybody lies. They say that people lie. Actually, it's an interesting statistic. They say people lie about 30 to 40 times a day just to get by.
Okay, well, I'm not lying here.
So, okay.
We're not lying now.
And 82% of all statistics are false.
Throw Down the Roses, which is, I don't know, it's cut one. I don't know which cut it is, but.
It is one, yeah.
Yeah. It's, that's me, man. I mean, that's my theme song.
All right.
I don't need a wristband to tell, to let people know who I am, and I don't want to be offended. I mean, that and you've managed, and don't listen to this carefully, you've managed to combine your gorgeous voice and rock texture with the current pop culture, like a Katy Perry. And I don't mean to put you in that thing, but you've been able to put that current pop culture noise sound into your songs, and it's great. I mean, the choruses, you jump up and down.
Well, that's really good. I mean, I think a lot of that is a combination of me and Sia, and Sia's the pop diva, and I'm, more sort of old school, I guess, in the B-52's. I think the combination of my voice and I had a lot of lyrics and ideas for the song because it was my record, but when I collaborated with Sia, she has a pop sensibility too, and I do too. I think a lot of the B-52 stuff has a pop sensibility in the sense that we have choruses that kind of kick.
Yeah, they do kick, and it reminded me of some of these Katy Perry, who I love, by the way.
I do too.
But I don't want. I mean, you just had a great jumping chorus.
I got one music question before we jump into the alcohol and drug stuff with Kate.
Okay.
Okay, it's just because I'm a fan. But when you guys came out, did you guys think of yourselves as like punk rock, or did you already see yourself as part of the new wave movement?
Well, the whole new wave thing was something they made up, and we're like, what's new wave? Because we were totally onto when we started in Athens, Georgia, there was no scene there. We just did the B-52's for our own amusement and just to have fun and, kind of crash parties, and we were friends before, and then we jammed one night, had a flaming volcano, because it was fueled by alcohol in a way, our flaming volcano, and we had a jam session. But I think, we were Patti Smith fans and Blondie and Sex Pistols and everything that had the Talking Heads, but we weren't really in that kind of first wave. So I guess we were new wave, but the whole idea of that was sort of like made up by record
Well,
companies.
I just have to say that when I first heard your first album, I was in I think 7th grade, but it blew my mind. It was definitely a groundbreaking album for me.
This album here, Guitars and Microphones, is ridiculous. I mean, it's great. And usually I don't like it when people. I really don't. When people try to come back, and there's been about 4 people who've been able to do it on their own. Justin Timberlake was pretty successful.
Yeah.
And this thing, if you haven't heard it, buy it. You can get it elsewhere. I'm not going to tell you where, but go out and buy it. Bottoms Up. What's that about?
Well, that is a song about addiction, and I had those lyrics. And Sia, it's no secret that she's, recovered, and she's, been through a lot of hell, with addiction, and so that's a theme of hers. 1, 2, 3, drink. 1, 2, 3, drink. And I had these lyrics, bottoms up with the top down, and your addiction to fiction and friction, and so we collaborated on those lyrics, and it really is the whole song is about addiction, and it was also written with Nick Valenci of the Strokes. So it has this real upbeat feel, and it's funny because I was singing it, it's na 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 na, and it's all about addiction, but it has a very upbeat feel.
Well, I mean,
it is a lifeline kind of song.
Yeah, I mean, Amy Winehouse did that with Rehab, and when I was in Rehab, they used to play that when we walked in every day, and it was upbeat, but it made us feel good. You've been around. You live a very healthy life right now, right? You're very conscious of it.
Yes, yeah.
But you've been around this for years, and one of the reasons God, I can't get that one song out of my head. Thanks a lot. What was the other line in there? I don't need a microphone to say I'm better. No, what's the line?
I don't need a microphone to tell you I'm better off on my own.
Right, I like that one too. That's such an egomaniacal song for me. I love it. Just sing it out loud. But you've been around addiction. I believe your partner had some. We don't call them problems.
Well, she's a recovered alcoholic.
Right.
Yes.
So we've all. By the way, we all
recovering.
Are. Yeah. Well, yeah, you're recovering, but if she's recovered, we'd like to know the answer. If she's recovered, she's our lead guest next week. But recovering. But you've been around the music business, and so have I forever, and you've seen this. Is it hard when you look at the landscape of the music business? How hard is it for people? And you're not going to name all the names to come back and know that they're still creative, and we talk about that a lot on the show. To get recovered. Like Joe Walsh, for example, thought, and I'm not outing him, but he thought that he could never perform on stage again. You know?
Oh yeah, it's such a crutch, and people feel reborn, and the real creativity starts, I think, when people get sober. And many of my friends who are sober, their life started then, really. So it's been kind of a miraculous thing, and I'm a great codependent, so I've been around it all the time. But I'm just like feeding the elephant in the room or something. I'm just like always tiptoeing around. My mother didn't tell me till she was on her deathbed, basically, that her father was an alcoholic. Yeah. So I never knew, and I said to her, why didn't you go live with your father after your mother died? And she finally told me he was a big drunk. So it was such a secret. It was such a, so I guess, I had that deep down in my psyche, that was a secret.
Yeah. Andrew, is that, I think a lot of people who are adopted, you're not, but...
No.
But,
neither am I that I know of.
But, I think a lot of people don't know their family trees, and then all of a sudden...
Well, a lot of people don't know about mental health or addiction. I think it's getting better now, but, there's a lot of shame based in it in the past, and, so people didn't pass it on, and a lot of second-generation addicts will sometimes be like teetotalers, like their parents will be alcoholics, and so, some will decide never to use, and then there's no knowledge about it, and it skips a generation, then all of a sudden, you're born with this genetic predisposition to addiction. All of a sudden it catches you, and you're not prepared at all because you didn't see your great-grandfather or your grandfather, who was a total alcoholic. So it's a tough deal, and until we're enlightened enough as a culture where we can, and as people and as society and as families, and we can talk openly about mental health issues and addiction problems at the dinner table, or over your iPhone or whatever it takes these days.
Yeah.
We're not going to get past all that stigma, and we're not going to learn the knowledge as a group of a society that will help people recover. How much did the B-52's play? Are you guys going to play again? I know you're doing a lot of dates.
Well, the B-52's are. We've been playing just a few dates. In fact, we played in the New York area, and we're going to play in Florida at the end of this month. So we're doing like 3 shows every month or every other month. So we're really slowing down. Cindy's uncle is ill, so she's taking care of him. And so, we've just really basically slowed down our touring. We're taking a break. So this is a perfect opportunity for me to do some live shows. I just played the City Winery a couple of days ago, and it was great. It really went down well. So Debbie Harry came. We did do Rome, and Debbie Harry came up and sang Rome with me, so that was a thrill. Are you coming west at all or no? I would like to. I definitely want to do more live shows because it was such a thrill to bring these songs, into a live setting. It was just amazing. You're going to be on Seth Meyers for a week too, right? Or yes,
sometime.
I'm going to be with Fred Armisen. I'm so thrilled.
So if you come to L.A., as the song says, I don't need a wristband. So you'll.
Can I stop by?
I'll stop by. And listen, we love your passion for music. We love your passion about being codependent and helping other people. And we wanted to have you on for a couple of weeks. We finally got you, and you'll come back, right?
Absolutely, I would love to. I would talk about this subject for a long time because it's very important to me. Guitars and microphones. I love it. I love you, Kate Pierson. Thanks for joining us, all right? Thank you for having me.
Okay, thanks for calling in.
There she goes. That album is incredibly great. Kate Pierson, and she answered your question, your trivia question, which when you asked...
that's what I like when I get an occasional question answered myself.
For the rest of the show, I have an old friend here, and by old I don't mean he's old, but we've been around for a long time. And Lou Gossett Jr. was in the room when I walked in, right, Lou?
That's right.
How bad was I?
I didn't look at. I just was very happy to see you.
Lou Gossett Jr.,
Yeah.
who played probably one of the most phenomenal characters in the history of film, the drill sergeant Foley, with Richard Gere and all that, in Officer and a Gentleman. The movie still holds up. 1982.
Yeah.
Yikes! By the way, Whiplash is kind of the
Well, it's one of those themes. You know, there's a Romeo and Juliet theme.
right.
There's the tough daddy theme, and that happens in many ways. In football, in music.
Yeah.
It's one of those classic Shakespearean themes.
You said that was Officer and a Gentleman put the music.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And there it was, and J.K. Simmons was outstanding in that thing.
You listen to KLEAN Radio. I'm Pat O'Brien, Andrew Spanswick. Kate Pierson was with us. Lou Gossett Jr. with us the rest of the show. And there's lots to talk to him about. An American Negro.
Oh, no, an American African.
I thought you said you wanted to be called an American
It
on
was
the BET
misquoted.
special.
No, on the BET special, I said an American African.
Oh, okay.
There's an American Jew, an American Russian, an American Greek.
And you said it didn't make you feel whatever.
Yeah, but the first word is American.
Okay.
It's important.
Well, I was kind of half right. But I mean, you don't. The African American part bothers you, right?
No, it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me. It's just things. I think it's an evolution in what my personal thinking. And since people ask me, that's what I call myself. I'm an American African.
Have you seen the headlines on the internet about that? How misquoted was it?
Well, I haven't made the correction yet. I told my publicist to correct it.
Right.
Because I think it's important that people want to listen to what I have to say, that they get the words.
Well, I'm glad I brought it up then.
Yeah. So it's we're American first, and maybe we should start using that word. All of us as Americans, there's a responsibility for being an American.
The responsibility, too, is to help other people. Your foundation, the Eracism Foundation.
Yeah. When I first started, I wasn't working in the town. Working in this town again,
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's on everybody's mind now. It's necessary.
Well, those were the Negro days then.
Tell me about it.
Right.
Yeah.
How much? What did you have to do to get in? I mean, you know what I mean?
Get in the.
Yeah, I mean, what was your first job? You done?
Oh, wow.
1,000 movies.
Okay. Well, I don't know how much time you got. But,
You got your time enough for you to answer it.
well, I was one of those rare Jackie Robinson types back in Brooklyn and Coney Island right after the Depression. Nobody had anything, When people had rich, they might have had $75,000. That was rich, and right after the Depression. But what we had broomstick handle. We cut the broomstick off, and that was a bat. And we had a ball, and the third base was the fort on the left, and the women had chalk and rope. And the rest was our imagination. We were in seventh heaven.
Yeah.
And,
Different times, huh, Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah, now you got to have an Xbox or something like
Yeah,
that.
You're a
those are
weed.
the people I grew up with, and I grew up with, guys like Stanley Ralph Ross. There was Arthur Miller type people. He went to the same neighborhood, and then Neil Sedaka and Harvey Keitel, and we all grew up together, and we rubbed elbows, and we played ball together, and we were tight. We were tight. Neil Sedaka, we all kind of very tight together, and the racism might have happened with the fists from time to time, when the Irish would come over, the Italians and stuff, but it didn't last long because we went to school together and we played ball together.
Yeah. Minnie Minosa died today.
Yeah.
It was sad.
Yeah.
Old Minnie, I knew Minnie.
I remember him too.
Yeah.
And
This BET special you did, which was misquoted, and of course I misquoted it along with it, but which is fine. We got it straight. That's what matters. We're going to talk about your BET special, which made a record, right?
Oh, yeah, it broke the record in Canada, and it outrated the Canadian hockey game.
In Canada.
It's got a CBC record.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lou Gossett Jr., the great Lou Gossett Jr., our friend, and a recovering. He's recovered, and he's got a message for you, and we'll talk about it. I get it.
Never ending.
We'll be back in a minute.
Are you addicted to drugs or alcohol, but unable to commit to an inpatient rehab stay? Introducing KLEAN Treatment Center's Outpatient Treatment. This drug and alcohol treatment program is designed specifically for the working professional. Don't let your commitments of running a business, taking care of a child, or maintaining your college classes get in the way of your recovery from addiction. With daytime, evening, or individualized programs, KLEAN's Outpatient Treatment will fit your life. Call now for a free screening. Professional guidance is standing by.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for joining the KLEAN Radio channel. Be sure to subscribe and get weekly episodes and clips. And comment, like or dislike, whatever. Be nice. We respond to everything. And we are back. I'm Pat O'Brien. Andrew Spanswick is here. Lou Gossett Jr. is here as well. And this BET miniseries, The Book of Negroes.
Yeah.
Man, everybody watched it.
Yeah.
Why? Why was it so compelling for you to do it?
It was word of mouth when it was on.
Yeah, that's what happens.
I resisted it when I first heard the word Negro. We're taught to change titles of what we are.
Right.
And it's kind of like, as you know, the phrase, contempt prior to investigation.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of a buzzword, right? I mean,
all of a sudden they said they wanted me in it. And then I opened up the book, and thank God I did, because a brand new world that I did not know existed. And then I've read it from beginning to end. And I'm embracing the fact that I don't know my entire personal history. And the more I know, the more I'm fascinated. School's never going to be out. And it fills in blanks for my culture to know about certain things. You know? I remember when I was a child, I didn't know enough about my culture, but I knew about my great-grandma, I knew about slavery, and I knew about living in the South. But my Jewish counterparts, my Greek counterparts, my Italians, they could talk about Romans, they could talk about Napoleon. And talk about the Vikings was on the movies all the time. I felt a little short, and all my heroes did not look like me. It was Roy Rogers. I loved Roy Rogers. I loved Hopalong Cassidy and Superman, but I did not look like those guys. So my friend, the late Stanley Ralph Ross, God rest his soul, he was a good buddy. He was my first roommate. So I didn't come from a black neighborhood. I came from a diverse neighborhood. So he said, "What's the matter with you, Louis?" I said, "Well, we're playing Superman today, and I don't look like Superman." He said, "Hey, forget that. You're going to be Superman today." He had no idea what he did to my psyche.
Yeah.
I was a hell of a Superman. So much so that I took my mother's towel and put it on my neck, and it jumped off, and that's why I got the gap in it.
We always thought we could.
Yeah.
That's the start of your acting career.
I mean, there's a possibility for me to be like Superman or Hopalong Cassidy. Is an entire dark cloud that emptied my psyche at the age of about 12 years old.
I got a phone call once from Roy Rogers himself.
Oh, boy. Get your goose pimples.
And he said, "Pat, Roy Rogers." And I said, "Yeah, he's still sleeping with Trigger." Except I didn't say sleeping. And he goes, "No, it really is Roy Rogers." It's called, I tell you, I'm a big fan. And he had to put Dale on. Anyway, our cowboy here is Buddy Totten, who's our social media director. And quickly, Buddy, what do you got today?
All right, how you doing? So this is what's happening in our social media world on Facebook.com/KLEAN Radio, and you can find us on Twitter @KLEAN Radio. Jen says she's been sober for 8 months, but says she's done a lot of damage to the relationships with her family and friends. How long did it take for you to repair the damaged relationships? I hope my kids will let me back into their lives.
Well, I'm going to let Andrew and also Lou talk about this, but my own personal experience was, I went through it publicly, so there was no hiding. What was it? There's no place far enough away to hide from Song of the South. But, Andrew, you must get that. I think we get that at the KLEAN Center a lot. I was over there this week, and there's still people there that, it's a chronic feeling that I'm never going to get them back. And I think what gets them back is honesty and show that you're recovering.
Well, I think that's true. I think also sometimes you don't get them back, and that can be a very painful and hard thing to deal with. And that doesn't mean that you should keep drinking or using. I think that message has to be out there as well, that there is hope for you to represent morally and ethically and intellectually who you are now that you're sober, and have that be of value and give that to other people. And hopefully your family catches up with you. But don't let shame and negative feelings and guilt bring you down and let that be something that triggers you into a relapse, because you have to keep setting a good example if you want to have hope for the future.
Well, I agree. I think families, we had the illusion of love when we were using.
Right.
There was sensitivity and stuff like that. But this, after we're getting sober, could potentially be the first time for an honest relationship. And your family's used to a dysfunctional relationship.
Yeah.
So our side of the street are those 12 steps. And rigorous honesty.
And you know that, but they might not know that.
That's called the family afterwards. It's in the book,
exactly.
You know,
yeah.
And there's more to it than that. I had made a lifetime commitment, which is why I have my foundation, for young people. Since I felt guilty that I wasn't available for my two sons as often as I heard or I know I was not. So I make amends to them and their children, but now I'm making amends to all children.
Yeah.
That's how I make that amends.
And that's
a lifetime.
That's a common thing, I think, Andrew. Yeah. Can you speak to that quickly about, quickly, it's your show, but I mean, about your kids. And my son stuck with me, but that's almost unusual. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I think a lot of families get alienated, and a lot of
lie to them.
Well, a lot of things happen. There's a lot of lies. There's a lot of deception. People move. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of transience. There's a lot of animosity sometimes and anger between family members, especially spouses. One who's been codependent and helped another one, and then a lot of horrible resentment, and that can cause alienation with children between parents, and then children are caught between the parents and they don't know what to do. So there's just a whole bunch of different things that can make those relationships really, really difficult. And all I can say is the best thing to do is be the best that you can be every day.
That's what
and hold it out as an example, and hopefully something will come around.
I have the 3 A's, not 2 A's, 3. Admit, apologize, and advance.
Good. Yeah.
Say, I did it. I'm sorry, and let's move on. Quickly, buddy, you got one more?
I do. Gina says, my husband graduated from rehab and has been home for 2 months. The kids and I hardly ever see him because he's going to meetings. I'm glad he's clean, but I'm becoming resentful that his program is taking time away from me and the kids. I feel like he's hiding out in meetings. What should I do?
Well, Lou and I are both nodding at that because I go to 2 meetings a day, or try to. In fact, I do. And that's a common problem, I think. People, you're out of the house, you're with the men's stag.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, let me just say that doesn't happen just with addiction. We see that with obese couples where one starts to exercise and all of a sudden that they're in gym twice a day, and then the spouse gets resentful. It's a changing of the pattern, and the family member, the wife in this case, has to accept that there's a change in her spouse.
You suggest Al-Anon?
And cooperate.
Yeah, Al-Anon would be great, and I think also, it's like that thing with the, not to be redundant with things, but that when the thing comes out of the thing in the airplane, and the air mask, and then you got to put it on yourself before you put the one on somebody else.
Amen.
Same thing there, right? Is if the alcoholic can't get help and can't have a program that keeps him sober, he's never going to be there for her at all, far less the 2 days or 2 hours or whatever. And if he is hiding out, ask him about it. Maybe there's something he's scared to say.
Right.
Maybe he's still living in fear, and fear will bring him down. So
Well, they also have those family sessions in rehab that everybody should attend.
Absolutely, and this would be a good thing for her to bring up with a therapist on her own. To think that she hasn't been affected by his alcoholism is not wise.
Buddy, thank you. Thank you, Buddy Totten, our CEO, actually, of our social media.
Nice promotion.
And we have such good guests that he doesn't get enough airtime. He's complaining now, too, Andrew.
I am.
I'm a complainer.
I'm a complainer. Character defect.
He's on the internet 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's
We're
true.
We're on Facebook.com/KLEAN Radio. And by the way, speaking of getting help, the Clean Center hotlines is 888-601-6040. It's like filling out a tax return. 888-601-6040. And 24/7, there are people there. Lou Gossett Jr. is with us. We were lucky, Lou. We've been lucky in a lot of ways. That the first group that we went to were contemporaries of ours.
Is true.
And I'm not going to name any of them, but you know what I'm talking about. And
the first group I was with that I used with are contemporaries.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, so it's the same bunch of guys, and we leave each other with relief. Oh, you're here too. I'm glad to see some of my contemporaries in rehab and at meetings. It's a reunion in a better circumstance now.
At the Clean Centers, what do you teach about that? I mean, I was there this week, as I said, and you emphasize meetings and it's a fraternity, so to speak, of learning.
Yeah, I think one of the major problems with addiction and recovery is that as people become addicted, they become more and more isolated and lonely. And loneliness tends to be a central factor in addiction. Once people are fully addicted, they tend to isolate, they become more and more alone, they've lost a lot of family and friends, and then they become sober, and it's a very antagonistic, angry world to go back into sober, especially if you're feeling feelings for the first time after having used for many, many years, right? So it's important to find a group of people that will listen and be able to share and deal with those feelings with you. And I think that's where support groups like AA are really, really positive, because it gives you a new social community that you can bounce off of and share, and people that are like-minded with understanding that there's a lot of rejection and a lot of, you know, judgment about people that have been addicts.
And you get, you know, you get to the point where you get addicted to going and being with people that have the same addictions.
Well, yeah. Well, that's
addicted is probably the wrong word.
Well, I think that's I think there is a danger that you can become sort of limited by not realizing that AA is a process to re-engage you in the world. It's not supposed to become a process to engage fully in AA as a lifestyle.
Well, yeah, that's a mistake a lot of us make.
Some people, well, because it's easy and it feels safe, but at some point you got to step out and get back into the real world.
It's a necessary phase to feel secure, and then have the courage to change the things you can. You know?
Absolutely.
Outside the doors of AA is reality out there.
All right, it's
and
a little
inside
scary.
the doors is the gathering of those tools to help you deal with that reality.
Here's Nate from up north, who's a recovering alcoholic, and Nate, you just got out of a 6-week program.
Yes, I did.
How you doing?
I've been touch and go since I got out. You know, I found out that the structure and security of that program really did not prepare me for what I'd be facing when I came back home.
Well, because you're different, right?
Well, also, I mean, I'm not sure where you went or what happened, but my first advice would be to get into an outpatient program. The idea that a 6-week program, I'm imagining it was residential by you saying you came back.
Yes, sir.
So I would look for an outpatient program near you where you can get continued help.
I've done that. I actually have done that.
That's great.
I put myself on an IOP. I'm doing AA, and I finally found a sponsor. You know, I've been kind of doing it. I guess half-heartedly, the best I can say on the radio. Not 100% program before I got in there, which is what led me to the final, I wouldn't say demise, but what put me in the mindset that a program is probably the best thing for me, because doing it on my own, and for those out there listening, doing it on your own, I can attest it does not work.
Nate, no, I hate to interrupt you, Nate, but I just want to sort of point out with your point that people think sometimes that 4 weeks of rehab is going to give them enough of a skill set to deal with all of this stuff. And the reality is that that's just the beginning. In 4 weeks, we're lucky if we can detox somebody, get them, basic psychiatric issues that may exist under control and addressed, and then connect them into a longer-term treatment program, be that outpatient or be that with a supportive community that we're connected with. And, Nate, I'm really impressed with the fact that you recognize that you needed that. And the fear that goes with that is probably what you're really expressing, that, I'm really scared of relapsing. I don't want to relapse. You're finding solutions. You came up with the solution that I suggested, and I just really applaud you for that. So just trust your instincts and stay sober.
If you have this, thanks, Nate, 888-601-6040. Talk about IOPs and outpatient programs. But it's alcoholism, isn't it, Lou? Alcohol is the one thing, but it's ism. It's all this other stuff that comes flying in.
It's just one-stop shopping, brother.
And you wake up and you start crying, and what's this?
And it's the automatic assumption for us who are, we're hard to change. It's a difficult change. It's in our DNA to believe that something that doesn't feel tangible to be the thing that's going to save our lives. Faith.
Lou Gossett Jr., who, by the way, won the Academy Award for your portrayal of Foley, who scared the hell out of me when I watched it. I hated you in that movie.
Well, I made a better person of you, didn't I?
Have you ever had drill sergeants come to you and say they became a drill sergeant because of watching you in that movie?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I could imagine you inspired.
Absolutely.
Like,
I went down to basic training before I did that movie.
oh, really? I mean, you were unbelievable in that movie. I mean, it just changed my life.
All those lines wasn't in the script. It came out of San Diego.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Get down, give me 50.
The Steers one came?
Yes, sir.
I
All
can't
of that
say
came
all
down.
that one.
Yeah.
Just say it once for me. Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.
Ah, there it is. Oh,
De la
man.
Syrah.
And by the way, if you haven't seen, and a lot of people haven't because it was 1982, but you can find it as soon as we get off the air. Officer and a Gentleman. Richard Gere was great. I mean, the whole cast was great. And I think I've seen it about 5 or 6 times. I mean, it's just got a lot of lessons in it.
Yeah, it was great. Richard Gere made a decision that first day of shooting when I looked in his face and started talking in his face, and he looked at Taylor and said, "Doesn't he know I'm the star of this movie?" And Taylor Hackford turned his back. And Richard Gere says, "I get it. I get it. He wants to make a good movie. Okay, I'm not the movie star. I'm just playing this part." My compliments to Richard Gere.
Yeah, he's a great actor and a great guy. Very
Deborah Winger
spiritual.
was great in that movie, too.
Yeah.
The chemistry between the two of them was excellent.
They hated one another, but you couldn't tell.
Oh, really? They hated
I like
each
to hate
other.
a woman like that.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah, right. That's
Action,
a privilege. Why did they hate each other?
I don't know.
Yeah, they did
Wow.
not.
They
did
said
not-
Taylor
did
sent me
not
20
live up-
miles away from the set.
Yeah.
Wow.
They did
Wow.
not like each
Interesting.
other.
No, they did not like each other.
What was the word? What was, she said,
Maybe that shows how dysfunctional I am, that I thought they looked like they really liked each other on camera. They really
were
hated
both
each
very
other.
good actors, weren't
Very
they?
good actors, right?
Yeah.
There's a good story about one of the sex scenes in there, but we'll talk about it after the show.
I'll never tell.
You know, I know.
You'll know.
I know the
I got to
story.
hear about this one.
But did she have the great line about the pilot? She goes, "I want to marry a pilot, not a country bumpkin," or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway.
That was the other woman, right?
That's
Oh, yeah, in the
God rest
factory.
her soul,
Yeah.
Lou, let's talk about the Eracism Foundation.
Okay.
And I love the name, the Eracism. It's racism. Erase.
Well, I got
Get
that
it?
name out of New Orleans. There was just a small society of the Choctaw Indians and the Cajuns. And that's where I got the first the
I
initials.
spent 9 years down there. I just
that's where it
I
started.
was just down there last week.
And then I saw a young man selling these Eracism T-shirts, like the one I have on, in front of USC. And I made a U-turn. I bought them all. I said, me and you, we can make this thing because what's happening down there, it makes sense that these gangbangers and the problem of racism must go away. And the young generation, he says, I want 50%. I said, well, no, I just want to buy T-shirts. I'll see you later. And then I didn't know what I had started. I started investigating the dynamic of racism. And it's more than color. It's more than religion. And it's what we are practicing very terribly today globally.
It's about power.
It's about power. It's about the automatic assumption of superiority on anybody's part.
Yep.
And now we're at the brink of a potential Armageddon on that reason. Our children are they don't know why they're dying. So the number one problem is the planet is dying, as you can see.
Yep.
Well, nobody listens. I mean, I worked for Bobby Kennedy for a while, and the great story is when Birmingham happened and John F. Kennedy was in president. He turned to Bobby and he said, "What are these Negroes? Why do they think they can do this? You know, riot and that sort of thing." And Bobby said, "Because of you. They're actually listening to you, Mr. President."
Yeah.
And he was surprised to know that his speeches were actually making people feel like they want empowered.
Yeah. So we can't solve this global crisis without our help of everybody in the world.
Well, is there ever
But what's
a solution,
getting in the
though?
way? What's getting in the way, of course, is our.
It's interesting because I was just in New Orleans for a week with my new wife, and she's never been there. And she was like taken aback by what she perceived as still the institutional racism in the restaurants. You know, like it's all black servers for the most part.
Well, it's in the DNA, man. It's in the DNA.
Part of it, but part of it also is that there's a lot of tradition that people, are still following, and for her it was shocking. And I remember when I first moved there, I went to Tulane for grad school, and so I was shocked by it. But after 9 years of living there, you soften to it, and you sort of like feel like everything's normal.
Well, New Orleans is the oldest city in America.
Is it? Yeah.
And so if you're a maid or you're a cook, you had a pride in it. You've done it for centuries, and your father did it, and your father's father did it. It's a different ball game in New Orleans.
It's like Jamaica a little bit.
Well, that's a little bit what I was trying to explain to her, that people actually do enjoy their work,
Yes,
even
they
though
do.
sometimes it's not that you're the CEO of a company.
No, it doesn't matter.
Right,
You know,
it doesn't matter. As long as you
yeah.
have pride and you
Yeah.
enjoy your work and you're respected for your work.
That's probably one of the
Yeah.
most diverse cities in America, and that's where it started, with the French and Italians and everybody coming
Right, there's
in.
like 4 different dialects in 5 square miles.
Yeah, we'll have dinner sometime. Have Andrew tell you New Orleans stories.
Yeah.
He's got them all. Well, you're listening to Clean Radio. We're glad you're with us. And if you go on our website, cleanradio.com, it's clean with a K, by the way. And we do updates now and clean news. We have a studio, and we're going to go into television when we're ready. But right now, this is what we got, and we're glad you're with us. Lou, when you got sober, Lou Gossett Jr. is our guest. When you got sober, was it hard to go back to work? And by that I mean, you're a creative guy. Were you drunk during Officer and a Gentleman?
No, sometimes. The
I didn't mean to put it that harshly.
Well, yeah, but I was using during Officer and Gentleman, but that was Friday night.
Yeah. So
So that's where I got from my uncles. That's what they did.
After they said
and
rap,
the measure
yeah.
of a man.
Right.
The measure of a man is you can do what you want Friday and Saturday night. You go to church on Sunday, and whatever you have to do, you do the very best work you can from Monday to Friday.
Yeah. Well, the ego flies on Friday.
And that's, if you don't do that, you're not a man.
Yeah.
So of course, that diminished itself for a while. But this shot of doing an Officer and Gentleman superseded all of that until the weekend, because it was real tough at my age to play this DI. So I did it. I did it not often enough, but I did do that. Thank God it didn't get in the way of my work.
All right, good for you. Because it gets in the way of a lot of people's work. And Andrew and I know, we talk about this a lot, and you know as well, and in Hollywood now, most people are sober or getting sober.
Oh, yeah. Well, I come from my contemporaries, the Lee Marvins and the Jimmy Garners.
Right.
And Sammy Davis. And, I tried to keep up with those guys. Plus, you spoke about music. My other contemporaries, the Eric Claptons and the Richie Havens and the Bob Dylans. Because, there's music and acting in there. And what we did was we were the sophisticated ones, It's a miracle that some of us survived, but some of us are still here. I went to Dallas Taylor's memorial the other day. But we hung out, and that's what we did. Now, in order to change, thank God, this program has gotten popular enough for us to finally know how to surrender and change all of the building blocks from that to this.
And Dallas Taylor was the drummer for Crosby, Stills, Nash, Young, and Taylor, and was kicked
but
out of the band, kicked out of that band for using too many drugs.
His biggest thing is to saving close to 200 young men.
And he saved me. He's the one who brought me to our meeting.
It's called Resurrection Tea Corn Pone, brother.
But
Resurrection.
Andrew, what do you think is going on in Hollywood? Now, we have the death of this young man from Parks and Recreation, but we do find that a lot of people are finally getting it and becoming role models in a different way.
Well, one thing, I think a lot of people were dying all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think dying is anything really new from drug addiction and alcoholism. I think that people are more aware of it, and it's not covered up like it used to be. So that's one thing. Also, the drugs have gotten a lot stronger. So
Very
that's,
strong.
And so now we're seeing a lot of young people. In fact, there was a great documentary on Los Angeles' homeless area downtown, Skid Row, and it talked about how it used to just be, old alcoholics, and now it's everybody.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because the types of drugs that have been funneled into the system have really changed things and changed the dynamic. But that being said, there is a different attitude. I think a lot of people realize that that they want to see people work and they want to see people succeed. And while in the past there might have been more tolerance of a lot of stuff.
Well, there was permissiveness.
Yeah. Now there's a need for work to get done.
Yeah, well, permissiveness.
you got
there was a transition in the insurance of movies, right?
Right.
Wasn't this
bonding.
expensive?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the doctor was one of us.
I worked at a rehab, which I won't name, but I worked at a rehab earlier in my career, which I won't name, that was here in LA, and that we actually had people that would come in, and the only reason they were there for 90 days was to make sure they didn't drink while they were on bond.
Absolutely.
So they'd have a sober companion that would follow them around and make sure they didn't drink. There was nothing going on in terms of treatment, and I was just like,
many rehab.
Well, with the insurance now, with the expense, these movies are expensive. They don't play that. They don't play that no more.
$45–50 million.
No, they ain't gonna go for it now.
An actor and a gentleman.
Yes, sir.
Was it hard to come up with that name for your book?
Well, somebody else put it up there. That's my ghostwriter. Yeah. And it's my fourth step, and more so.
Fourth step being you tell everything.
You tell everything, and all of your aggressiveness and your secrets and your resentments and stuff, and you wash it clean. And I wash myself clean, kind enough to tell everything. I got a couple of more chapters to do. There's an addendum to the book coming up since the end of that book until now. But the miracles don't happen until you clear up your system.
Yeah.
To make it available for some new stuff to get in there.
I wrote a 400-page 4-step, my book, and I'm free. I mean, it's a
freedom. It's free.
But, I'm starting to collect some more, but take care of those day to day.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's important, too, and you learn that in a structured rehab as well, is how to be grateful and have a gratitude list. And
it's also learning how to learn. It's learning how to...
Yeah, it's a brand new ball game.
It's learning how to know how to recognize these patterns and how to notice when you're doing it again. Because a lot of people will think like, oh, I cleared my plate, it won't fill up again.
It's like a kid saying, I did the 12 steps, now what?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
By the way,
it's like, go back to one.
they're called steps. You walk forward. I mean,
do I have your permission to tell you where to get the book? Can I say that on there?
Go ahead.
You go to my foundation, eracism.foundation, or you can look at number one, Lou logo at gmail.com. And I'll send it to you, and I'll autograph it for you.
Right, and
I'll publish it myself.
And we'll put it on our website as well. And but it's eracism.foundation.
Yes, sir.
And where does the money go?
The money goes to, I'm trying to put a center together called the Shamba Center, Shamba, which is a Swahili word meaning farm. It used to happen in our neighborhoods when I was green. And then before the cell phone, there was old ladies who would watch it. I'm going to tell your mama. And if my parents didn't get home, it was an ideal, poor people's solid neighborhood. So if my folks didn't get home in time for dinner, I had a choice of gefilte fish, lasagna, corned beef and cabbage, menudo. It depends on who was home.
But you ate.
But I ate.
By the way,
they took very good care of it. We got to do that again, guys.
It's about community.
Count me in to help you out with that. Lou, I love you.
I love you back, brother.
And thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
And
what a pleasant surprise to see you.
I know. I love you, man. And you're doing the good work and keep it up. And you look great, by the way.
It's a selfless service. It works better than the other way.
Say it one more time, mayonnaise, please.
Mayonnaise.
God, I love that.
Get down, give me 50.
I can do 50.
Only two things come from Arizona.
we can't do that yet.
No, you can't.
Lou Gossett Jr. Andrew, any final thoughts quickly?
I'd just like to thank Lou once again for coming in. I really appreciate it. And I really admire the work you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Once again, our number after the show is 888-601-6040. It's a helpline. Someday I'll call it because, I hope not, but they'll help you there 24/7. Any question you have, we have an ILP. The Clean Centers are great. I'm Pat O'Brien. He's Andrew Spanswick. I want to thank everybody tonight. Remember that the universe, no matter where you are on the spectrum, always delivers. It always delivers. So be grateful. Love yourself. Do things for yourself. And we'll see you next week.
Are you or someone you care about addicted to drugs or alcohol? Addiction ruins lives and destroys families. Bring an end to the pain and suffering by calling KLEAN Treatment Centers. KLEAN has helped people from around the world break free by not only treating the addiction, but the underlying causes and providing vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean with no gimmicks and no false promises. If you need immediate assistance or just have questions, call KLEAN Treatment Centers for guidance. A much better life awaits.